Hey guys, Nick Espinoza, your Chief Security Fanatic here, and welcome to more daily news. Now, I am going to talk to you guys, similar to my earlier daily video, about a news article that has flown under the radar, but is actually very serious within the United States. And this is the problem that we have, a fight between the FBI and Silicon Valley. In this case, we're going to be talking about Facebook. Now, the FBI, or Federal Bureau of Investigation, for those of you who are not in the United States, basically it's our national federal law enforcement agency, and they go after major organizations, high crimes, all this kind of stuff. And what we're going to be talking about today is MS-13. Now, this is a gang based from Mexico, very violent, basically running drugs and weapons and all this kind of stuff. And we have a serious problem with MS-13 in the United States. The FBI has been tracking them. Now, by all accounts, what we know is that the FBI has intercepted text messages from MS-13 MS-13 members, and then they went to Facebook to say, hey, we need to be able to get into Facebook Messenger and intercept and read the messages that these MS-13 gang members are talking to each other about, because they're moving from one account to the other. And Facebook basically said, no, we can't do that. These messages are end-to-end encrypted, and if we break that encryption system, which we don't know how to do right now, we'd have to develop that. We basically would then have to rewrite a lot of our code, not to mention the fact we're now making it insecure for the hundreds of millions, if not billions, of people daily around the globe that are using Facebook Messenger. And so a court battle ensued, and at some point a settlement was reached that we don't necessarily know about, but the ACLU, or American Civil Liberties Union, got wind of this and is basically suing the FBI to have those court documents unsealed. Now, what we do know is that most of the time, Facebook complies when the U.S. government gives them warrants or requests for information. They've been very friendly with law enforcement, and that's not necessarily a bad thing if we're tracking criminals, but in this case, the FBI is asking them to break technology. Now, let's rewind the clock a bit to 2016 for another major case. I actually wrote an article about this called Apple and Goliath, and it's basically the same situation that Apple had with the FBI. Now, in 2016, in April, I believe, if you recall, there was an unfortunate incident of a terrorist shooting in San Bernardino, and law enforcement was able to stop the terrorist from continuing the carnage, but he was shot and killed, and so they had no way to get into his phone. The FBI went to Apple and basically said, hey, we need you to break the encryption on the Apple phone. And like Facebook, Apple said, no, we can't do that. Aside from the fact we don't know how to break our own encryption system, to do so would, again, open up millions of iPhones out there running this kind of encryption, it would make everybody vulnerable. And so eventually the FBI was able to hire a professional hacker and pay this guy $1.5 million, and he was able to find a way through the Apple encryption, and therefore then Apple strengthens their encryption, and on and on and on. But this is a perpetual problem that we are seeing. We have the ability to use encryption. All of my devices are encrypted. I am talking to you here, recording this video on my cell phone. My cell phone is encrypted by default, as are all of my computers and all of my technology. If one of my devices is lost or stolen, I don't have to worry about somebody, malicious or otherwise, accessing my data or my customers' data illegally. We also do this for our clients as well. We recommend encryption on everything. It is a safety measure. But if we are allowing known backdoors and vulnerabilities into this to allow the government to come in and surveil this at will, so ideally with a warrant, but we've also seen that because U.S. law for a lot of technology was written in the 80s, we don't necessarily have laws that defend privacy necessarily in this way for very specific things. The last example being Location Smart. At will, without a warrant, law enforcement could log into a program called Location Smart in the cloud and basically pinpoint you by your cell phone via GPS locator, and they didn't need a warrant for that. So we have kind of open case law for this. Some of it's solid, some of it's not, and we're going to see where this goes. But we have a problem right now with law enforcement obviously needing to track suspected gang members, suspected, let's say, evil organizations or criminal organizations, versus the need and the right for the overwhelming majority of us that are not criminals to maintain privacy from prying eyes. And so you tell me if this is a good thing or bad thing, but as we continue to see cases where major law enforcement across the United States is asking major tech providers like Facebook or Apple in the past to break their own technology, to weaken the systems that defend all of us, is that right? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? We have to have privacy here, but what is the expense? Is it the expense of law enforcement's ability to do their job very easily, or is it more important to make sure that innocent citizens, those that are not committing crimes like you and me, ideally, if you're watching this, you're not a criminal. Is it more important that we have the protection that we need, since overwhelmingly the majority of us are not committing crimes like this? So you tell me. And please like, share, follow me on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And thank you for tuning in to my YouTube channel at /Nick Espinoza. YouTube would not let me uniform it with NickAESP because Google. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.